The FBI Agents Association issued a powerful rebuke of FBI Director Kash Patel and the Trump regime in general. When the FBI Association is saying that this regime is lawless, that its own director is lawless, we should listen. Also, hat tip to Carol Letting over at The Post and Ken Delaney over at MSNBC. They do great reporting on law enforcement and particularly the FBI. But here's the statement from the FBI Agents Association. Here's what they say. The actions yesterday in which FBI special agents were terminated and then reinstated shortly after highlight the chaos that occurs when long-standing policies and processes are ignored. An agent simply assigned to an investigation and conducting it appropriately within the law should never be grounds for termination. Director Patel has disregarded the law and launched a campaign of erratic and arbitrary retribution. FBI agents deal in facts, and we urge Director Patel to do the same. When leadership abandons due process, it doesn't just erode trust, it makes the American public less safe. FBI agents must be free to focus on protecting the American people, not fear losing their jobs over third-party social media posts. And they're referring to these social media posts by these right-wing MAGA influencers like Laura Loomer and others who say, fire this person, fire that person, fire this person. And then the regime, based on those posts, fire these individuals who are veterans at the FBI, 25, 30, 15-year veterans at the FBI with a huge wealth of experience who are needed for law and order and law enforcement purposes. Again, this statement didn't mince words. Have you ever heard in the history of the FBI, hint, the answer is no, where the FBI calls the current administration criminals and the current FBI director essentially a criminal, right? If you're violating the law, if you're engaging in unlawful conduct and not following due process, I'm just sharing my opinion. To me, they're at least implying, and you can make your own interpretation, that they're breaking laws. What does it mean to break laws? A lawless FBI director. And we're hearing about, we covered before on the MeidasTouch network, on our YouTube channel, on the podcast, Kash Patel using the taxpayer jet to ferry or fly his girlfriend around, his 26-year-old girlfriend, to events at Penn State, college events. He's flying there to college events, like wrestling events at colleges, and then bringing her back to Tennessee. And then he's going to the press and announcing that a criminal investigation's underway in Michigan that we then learned was never even really a fully formed criminal investigation. And Patel's like, we found international terroristic threats going on in Michigan. It was like a bunch of 16 to 20-year-old gamers who may have been saying, based on the facts, some dumb crap in their gaming forums and in their 4chans, but they were being monitored to determine if the threat was real. And Patel apparently didn't like the news cycle about him using the jet, the taxpayer jet, to ferry his girlfriend around $15,000 an hour. And he leaked the news. And then the FBI agents were like, dude, what are you doing? We were doing this investigation. You just destroyed the investigation. You can look elsewhere also. We've covered here, and hat tip to the Boston Globe who broke this story, when the FBI and Homeland Security announced in this sleepy mill town in New Hampshire that they had uncovered the entire Sinaloa cartel leadership there. And then it turned out that when the facts were exposed, it was just some drug addicts, who were struggling with their addiction and had no connection to being Sinaloa cartel leaders. And it's their thing they do all the time. They make these announcements. They undermine their own investigations. Oh, Kash Patel fired, the statements in reference to, he keeps on firing not a day goes by where he doesn't fire people. He fired a veteran, this guy Palmer, who technically oversees the flights of the FBI, but had nothing to do with exposing Patel using it. Patel's girlfriend posted photos at the Penn State event. That's how people knew. The girlfriend posted the photos, and then this guy Kyle Seraphin, who's an ex-FBI agent, then's oh, that's weird. She's posting these photos, and Patel's there. Did they use the jet? So he Googled the tail number, which was publicly available before Kash Patel took it off this public website, because it's a public freaking plane. And it said that the plane took off and landed. It had nothing to do with the guy they fired. So they fired this guy who was at the FBI 27 years. And just imagine that, like, you're about to vest with your pension. You've worked your whole life. And then you get fired because Patel is out there with his 26-year-old girlfriend on a private jet, and they blame you for something you had nothing to do with. Think about how this is impacting all the other criminal FBI investigations that's taking place. Let's bring in Harry Litman from the Talking Feds YouTube channel and the Talking Feds podcast. Harry, this is obviously an unprecedented statement against an existing FBI director from their own union. I mean, could you imagine? I mean, it would be, I could give a lot of examples, but also there's a broader implication here that they're saying you are making America way more dangerous with these tactics. Break it down for us, Harry.
And that's just for starters. So first, as you say, unprecedented and so incendiary. This group, Ben, represents 90% of current and former FBI agents. It's like the entire, body of FBI agents have turned against him. Remember, Patel went before the Senate, where he was confirmed by the skin of his teeth, and swore there would be no political prosecutions, no political firings, just bald lies, at least based on what he did. And in any other environment, even without that testimony, but certainly with it, this kind of profound demonstration of loss of confidence by the people that you have to lead would lead to a political crisis and the discharge of the head of the FBI. It might even still, but of course, it's what if Trump still likes just these other qualities in him, including the PR stuff. Maybe he keeps him around, but it's completely incendiary from the standpoint of the FBI. You mentioned, by the way, Carol Leonnig. She's just this morning published along with Aaron Davis this big book, Injustice, talking about 9 years at the DOJ. And the chronicling of the tension with the FBI, that's one of the big revelations in the book, and a surprise one. But FBI agents care about their jobs. They care about their soldiers in arms. They have almost a sort of military view. You stick together. And, from the term one McCabe firing, purposely with 26 hours to go before his pension vested, a decision, by the way, that cost us, the taxpayers, a pretty penny when he actually challenged it. They've declared war on the FBI. Patel this is the reason why Bill Barr said before, and when the question was deputy director over my dead body, and then the deputy director here, they promised the FBI agents, since Patel doesn't know anything about the FBI except antagonizing it unfairly from afar, they would put in a real agent in the deputy position, and they lied about that and put in a guy who's also an antagonist and doesn't know anything about the FBI. So there's this also profound lack of confidence in the front office. But this is not a casual step. 90% of the union represents 90%. It has to reflect really widespread, not just discontent, but enmity of the FBI for the supposed leadership, and the general point, which is exactly what's happening in DOJ, people getting sacked. Why? Because they did exactly their job. That's just so grossly unfair, and it really hits home. So, this, even with the sort of impervious sheer political focus of a Trump and a Bondi, This is such a vote of no confidence. It's going to follow him around where however long his tenure lasts. And I think this could easily bring a real crisis on. For one, you got to imagine that the people who wrote this letter will be called to Congress to testify. The story will not be going away, along with the girlfriend thing. And, he's just been a spectacularly unfit anti-FBI director as a director, as others of the worst of Trump's cabinet are. But nothing worse than when you're you go through the history. Even J. Edgar Hoover, who we think of as a totally abusive FBI director, had the back of his people. And Patel here is just plunging the knife in and kind of arbitrarily, this one and that one, and they don't even know. So really, and then the final point, they are really playing hardball when the FBI says this is hurting public safety, which, by the way, every time you come out with a pending investigation, of course, that is what you're doing. You burn the investigation. Everybody knows you never do that. But for the FBI associating to say they're not only being unfair on a personnel level, but he's making the country less safe. That is throwing down the gauntlet. This is not a one-day story.
It's a ongoing story, and this is just going to grow and grow and grow. I saw a few kind of commentators say if this was any other normal situation, the FBI director would be gone in like this. Wouldn't even be a hesitation. You'd be out the moment the story broke about the jet or any of, this behavior. But look, Kash Patel's whole thing was that he hates the FBI. I mean, right. His whole podcast shtick, what was his theme? That he talked about. It was like he hates the FBI. So Trump picked the guy who hates the FBI to torture the FBI because Trump viewed all of the investigations into him as being fueled by an FBI that he viewed as the enemy. So he wants to put the FBI through a humiliation ritual. And so you pick the worst possible guy. And, to me, what this really reflects, though, is these MAGA Republican senators, these, who went along with this. It's like, guys, come on. I get it, but this is the freaking FBI here. You want to mess around with the South African ambassador, who says some crazy stuff that should never be, allowed in, and some racist stuff. I'm against that. In normal times, absolutely not. But if you got some weird affinity, that there are some positions, the ambassador to this or that. This is the FBI director who hates the FBI. I'm like, come on, what are you doing? It's like the health guy who hates health and RFK Jr. It's like the Fox weekend host, who's clearly not capable of being a leader to run the Defense Department. So it's to me, this isn't like, oh, you're a lefty, you're a Democrat. So to me, it's like, come on, Christopher Wray was a Republican. James Comey was a Republican, but you can look back on them and say, these were experienced, thoughtful. You can disagree with them. You could get angry, but these people took their job seriously. It ain't happening here. Harry, I'll give you the final word.
Yeah. So look, he's like the anti-FBI director. And just flash forward a little bit, Ben, to a congressional proceeding where they throw back at him, you promised us, in order to be confirmed by the skin of your teeth, that you would never take political action, etc. Do you now? Patel is a famously obstreperous asshole when he testifies, but he's going to look terrible, and he's going to be preceded by the absolute more FBI than Patel by far. Kind of agents who are saying how improper, unprecedented, and demoralizing he's been, and how he's harming the public safety. Even just thinking about it, that from the vantage point that all Trump cares about is Trump and his personal interests, and he likes having Patel in his pocket to do what he likes, and he too hates the FBI. It's just gonna, as you say, the FBI still has enough vestigial credibility or importance in this country that when people see Patel basically lying his way out of it and hear about the public safety cost, they're going to have a real mess on their hands. Ben, give me a quick second to pay a debt from another YouTube. I hope everyone's watched both, but it was Anna Bauer who did that really good revelation about what they did wrong with the Comey stuff. Go back if you're confused and hear what you'll understand what I was talking about. But again, back on this one, Patel is so exposed based on his testimony, based on what FBI agents are going to say, that, it's a little bit like a bullfight where there's, the bull has been gored, and he may act like a bull, but he is really, really in mortal danger, I think.
Harry Litman, Talking Feds YouTube channel. Everybody subscribe. Just type Talking Feds YouTube channel. That's all you got to do. He's got a Substack also. He's got a podcast. I like to see Harry, though, so that's why I go to the Talking Feds YouTube channel. Thanks, Harry.
Hey, thank you, Ben. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video and other Talking Feds content, please take a second to like and subscribe. Talk to you later.